And think of this is unity consciousness. Okay? How many of you are familiar with the idea of dimensions? This is the third dimension. Okay, the fourth dimension is the astral plane, where in the Hollywood movies you got a tunnel of light and you go around as a being of light. You're not actually in a physical body. And the fifth dimension is which is just what you've been experiencing then, is unity consciousness. How many of you felt one with everything, even ever so briefly when we're doing that? No? A little bit, okay. So, prior to coming here, you're more on the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension is where there's no sense of separation like we have in the body. It's where we feel one with everything. You may understand this, but actually consciously feel one with everything. Where there's no separation between you or any other part of existence. And dimensions you can think of like TV channels. The fifth dimension you can't see here because it's vibrating at a frequency you can't, with the current sense of see. But just like on TV, you can just switch a channel and you're in a different frequency, you see a different reality. Right? So this is vibrating too fast for us to see in this third dimensional reality, which is here. This is us. Okay. This is us in this reality in a body. This is the fourth dimension. This is where you are on the astral plane, just prior to coming into your body at conception. Okay, so what happens is that you, at a state of unity consciousness, decide, I want to expand my consciousness. I want to expand the consciousness of all that is, or God, Source, whatever you want to call it. And so you individuate into a little soul. And then, so when you first do this, you spend a lot of time learning how to maneuver around the fourth dimension. What is it like to be individuated? Because it could be the first time you've done that. And then when you've done enough of that, you decide, okay, I want a denser experience, I want a more extreme experience. So what you do is you decide to incarnate. You come into a physical body at the point of conception, which is what this work is all about. And the reason for coming into a body is so that you can have a much more intense experience. Because when a soul is embodied, the emotional experience of earth life is much, it imprints on us, we're much more strong than when we're not in the body, so we learn a lot faster, which is why we come here. So how many of you would say you've had a pretty intense life so far? Yeah, and you wish it was easier a bit? Yeah? Okay. Well, your soul at this level, it looked at all its previous lifetimes. Is everyone okay with past lives? Yes. Have the idea of that? Okay. So it looks at its previous lifetimes and says, what are the major themes that I'm working through that I wish to continue to take to another level? And so based on usually 3 or 4 key past life themes, it might be issues of power, trust, worthiness, speaking truth. It could be all sorts of different ideas you want to work with. What the soul does is it designs this lifetime here. How many of you have seen The Matrix? How many of you feel you understand what that's actually about? The Matrix is a film which is trying to tell us what's really going on here, because this is the Matrix, it's that there are no machines. But what I'm talking about here is actually how you created your unique program that creates your reality each moment in the Matrix. Because if you can understand, work out what that is, which is what you've got on that piece of paper in front of you there, then you can start to create your own reality. You can create your life the way you want it, not the way you think it's maybe done to you. Just sort of stuff happens, as I said about myself at the beginning. So the soul designs a lifetime. It chooses the genetic structure, the family, okay, mum and dad. It chooses the time zone, the culture. It chooses all the key relationships we're to have. All our different orientations. There's no accident in the way your life is actually turning out for you. Even though a lot of it, especially when we're young, we don't like, we should just go away, but it won't. Okay? So, it chooses a name. How many of you are familiar with the law of attraction? So the law of attraction, this is actually what we're talking about. This whole work is about what's the actual rule program behind the law of attraction that's creating the reality. So it chooses a name, which is programmed into your DNA, into your energy fields, and into a substance called a karmic matrix. This is the raw matrix here. And this is like a grey cobweb energy that sits in your fields at the 4th, 5th and 6th dimensional levels. It literally is radiating out to the matrix here, and the matrix is rearranging around that every second of the day. And that karmic matrix contains your soul contract, everything that you are to experience. So have you noticed, like, some things in life continue for a while, like some situations, which, like, say boyfriend, for example. It's one boyfriend, and they're a certain way, and you get rid of them after a while, so I can't take it anymore. The next one turns out to be just the same, even though it seemed a bit different initially. It's because you're still learning the lesson of that one. Then after a while, that pattern goes away and something else happens. Because the soul is actually triggering your karmic matrix to create certain things to be drawn to you. And when you burn through enough of your karmic matrix, then it triggers something else. You don't go to that pattern anymore. So what's happening is that the soul has programmed into the karmic matrix the vibrations of your name to create each moment of your life. And the soul is hoping that you will consciously engage with that program and transmute it all, so that it can have the intense experience it desires you. So what happens is that the soul comes down in this lifetime, has this experience. When the physical body dies, the soul leaves with all the cellular memory of that experience and goes up to the higher dimensions. And then it comes along here, and it's time along this way. It's here, it creates another lifetime. It creates another variation on the pattern. So the soul is eternal here, whereas the contract created is temporary each lifetime. It's a projection of energy out into the matrix. It projects out, it learns, experiences, it leaves, goes back to the soul as cellular memory, comes along here, soul comes down, designs another lifetime. So that's actually what we're doing. We're popping in and out of this reality. We're popping in and out of the matrix pretty regularly to actually, so our soul learns. Okay, so can someone give me their understanding of the word karma? It's not a right or wrong answer. It's going to get somebody else to believe it.
Cause and effect.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens here is that the soul, say in this lifetime, misused power. It was experimenting with power, misused power. Okay, so it's going to create a karmic experience for itself. So once it leaves this lifetime, it comes down to this lifetime here, it then may come in, say the soul here misused power there, was a perpetrator of the misuse of power, would come in here, then it would usually be the receiving end of someone misusing their power on it. Okay, so it's cause and effect to balance up the energy. So the karma only exists in this earthly plane here. It's purely a learning experience. It's not punishment. Okay. It doesn't exist up here, it only exists down here as part of the program. So the karmic patterns that you face are only there when you bring them in, a selection of karmic patterns, you bring them in to create what we call the negative context of your life. So how many of you notice you get everything you don't like initially in life? And it's just sometimes you think it's never going to end. That's because the soul is creating that negative context. You get very clear what you do want. And usually what you do want is the exact opposite of what you have initially. All right? And so this is called the law of opposites. Because whenever the soul wants to create something through the law of attraction, initially you get the law of opposites to create everything you don't like. Like if you're in a relationship that's not working, everything you don't want, you get very clear on what you do want. That's the gift of it. So, and then if you focus on what you do want, next time you have a much better chance at getting it. And provided you work that through and work through the issues and the karmic pattern, there's a much better chance you'll get that. You're unlikely to repeat the previous pattern. But if you haven't got all that lesson, then you probably get a bit more of the same and get that negative context again. So someone who's here to come into their power will usually have a very disempowering childhood, could be very disempowering parents, so they can make the choice to step into their power. And and it's about going from a point of feeling very disempowered, that polarity, to going on the journey of empowerment. And that's actually the purpose of life, is to travel from the karmic pattern and to viscerally experience in your life what it's like to come into your power. And that goes into your cells, and when that goes into your cells, the soul has just re-experienced itself as a spark of all that is coming back into its power. So it's expanded all that is of God's consciousness regarding use of power. So that's actually the only purpose of having karma. So it's about looking at it as a gift, not a curse, because if we look at it as a curse and judge it, all you get is more of it you might have noticed, because we place the judgment on it. So it's just about accepting our karma, our negative context as a lesson, and seeing, well, what is it I need to claim from that pattern? What is the gift? Because you claim the gift, then you've actually got what life is about. It's to actually transmute it, because within the karmic patterns you carry is the gift you're here to deliver. Okay, so someone in disempowerment is here to come into power, to give the gift of empowerment to others in their life. So the very thing that you can't stand, which should just go away, is the very gift you're here to deliver. And most people in life who don't understand this concept are turning away from their karma, so life gets very hard. People say life is hard, then you die. Well, it is, especially if you don't follow the flow of spirit. Right? So,
Nicholas, I don't know if it was on the webinar, if it was Silverson's diagram, but he was showing this is your soul and this is as you get further away. That was really...
I'm going to draw that now.
Oh, it was really good.
Yeah. So how many of you would like to follow the path of bliss in life?
Sure.
Yeah? Yeah? You're keen on that idea? How many of you had enough of following the path of suffering?
Yeah, I think I'm done.
Yeah, most people are. When Buddha was on about this about 2,000 years ago. So, let's talk about that. So, following the path of bliss. In this work, the soul contract work is all about how to follow the path of bliss